Ah, Gravity Falls. A beautiful, charming, witty, funny show set in the fictional town of Gravity Falls, Oregon, involving the story of a triangle who's trying to take over the world. At least, that's what the internet would have you think if you were online between the years of 2012 and 2014, and unfortunately for all of us, I was. Now, Gravity Falls hit me at the perfect time. I was the same age as the main characters. I was awkward, struggling with gender dysphoria. Puberty had just hit me like a freight train, and I had just made who I didn't know yet would become one of my lifelong friends, Tori. And little did either of us know the wolf role plays we were having during gym class were about to morph into something far, far worse. Gravity Falls wolf role plays. Now, Gravity Falls is many things. It's witty, charming, funny. It's got well rounded characters, a great critique of small town politics, and an interesting story about the way the relationships we form define us as people. But none of that mattered. We were 12 years old and we wanted Bill Cipher to be our dad. Bill Cipher, for those of you who have been living under a rock for your entire lives, is the main villain of Gravity Falls. He is a triangle with a top hat, a bow tie, and one glowing eye, and he's evil. That's his main character trait. He talks like a sleazy car salesman, and he steals children's souls. And all of those things are incredibly attractive when you're 12 years old and you've never met a real man. And so it began. We created our characters, shittily adapting them from characters we already had, at least in my case, and it started. We started role-playing Gravity Falls in gym class, abandoning our former role-play project, which had been Wolves. Now, Canis was very similar to their former iterations. They were blonde, the same age as me. They had basically my personality and were very clearly a self-insert. But the one thing that set this Canis apart, aside from the Gravity Falls layer of paint I had thrown over them, was the fact that they were a woman, which was kind of interesting for me, because as a budding trans man, I mostly had male self-inserts at this point. And if I'm correct, the only reason that Canis was not a boy in this version of themselves was because I didn't want to weird out my new friend Tori by having a male main character self-insert thing, which is hilarious to current me because Tori is the gayest, most gender non-conforming person I know, and that is a compliment. But back to Canis. As anyone who was heavily involved in the Gravity Falls fandom would know, Bill Cipher is infamous for being what is now known as a Tumblr sexy man. He was well dressed, a fast talker, kind of charming, and had a dark side, and for some reason that was really appealing to a lot of people. So, of course, Tori and myself gravitated toward this character, and both of our characters were in some way related to him. Canis was a niece of Bill Cipher, although it was implied that it was more of an adoption kind of deal than like a genetic relation. And another character in this was Tad Strange, which is so hilarious to me. Uh, if you're not in the know, Tad Strange, the name Tad Strange, was leaked before the character Tad Strange was ever officially introduced in Gravity Falls. And for some reason, this name had so many theories behind it. And the main popular theory about the name Tad Strange was that it was a name that belonged to Bill Cipher's brother counterpart, another dream demon, who would come into the story at some point. And the common fandom interpretation of Tad Strange was a purple square to contrast with Bill Cipher's yellow triangle. Then the episode that had Tad Strange actually released, and it turns out he's just a white man who likes white bread. So, But we didn't know that yet. We were innocent and free. So, Tad Strange remained as a side character. He lived in the ethereal space mansion that Bill Cipher and Canis inhabited. So they were just one big happy family living in their space mansion, which isn't that the dream? And then Yugi, Tori's character, I believe at some point also moved into the space mansion. But Yuki's whole deal was that she was a dream demon that had been experimented on by Stanford Pines, which is amazing. I love that for her. And so, because of that, she had some, like, fucked up anime fox powers to contrast with Canis's fucked up anime wolf powers, which I guess they just had for no good reason at all. So these two would go on general hijinks and escapades. Canis was more of the mischievous trickster character. A lot of my characters in that era were similar to that. So, they'd interact with the main characters of Gravity Falls and do all that good stuff, get up to hijinks. At some point, Slender Man was there, and Yuki was like Slender Man's adopted fox daughter, I believe. Which, that's such like a 2013 statement. You couldn't say that today. It's like total nonsense. In a good way. In a good way. But yeah, these characters are really nostalgic to me, and I love them. Just talking about them is just very funny. I kind of miss that era, of just innocently putting a character out into the world that is just the worst piece of writing that's ever been created. Just totally and utterly cringeworthy, and having no second thoughts about it. I miss that innocence. I miss that lack of restraint in my art, really. But yeah, Canis and Yuki. There's not really a basic storyline to follow with them. They were like roleplay characters, so it was kind of like an episodic thing. Monster of the Week roleplays with Canis and Yuki. Oh no, Yuki's been captured by Stanford Pines, the evil old fuck, and now we gotta rescue her. Or oh, Gravity Falls is happening and we're interacting with it. Isn't that cool? Or let's prank Bill Cipher and Tad Strange. That could never possibly go wrong. So it generally stuck to that like episodic kind of the storytelling that you can really only achieve when you're role playing with someone else, or I guess writing an episodic adventure. But unlike the last video, I don't have a lot of story to dive deep into, and I also don't have a lot of characters to dive deep into. It's really just Yuki and Canis, aside from the Gravity Falls main characters. So I'd like to delve a bit deeper into my design process for when I redesigned Canis. Now, first on the agenda was that Canis had to become transgender, because as a trans man, I have something I like to call the transgenderizer, which is a gun I can point at any person or anything, and when I fire the gun, it will make that person or thing transgender. So of course I fired it at Canis. It's a trans thing. You wouldn't understand if you weren't one of us. Second of all, I wanted to make Canis a little bit less generic. Canis was really just girl in a hoodie with an eye patch, and I was like, I could do better than that. So I kind of incorporated circles more into Canis's design, because Canis's dream demon form, the shape form, is a circle. So I thought that could make a nice motif. So The footage of me drawing Canis's design should be up right now. You can see I've added like circles on the shoes, I've added a circle on the eye patch, and there's a circle on the hoodie that you can't really see because he's holding his own head. And third of all, I decided I was going to make Canis a bit bigger boned, because I'm a larger person, and I think I'd like to see a bit more representation. Now the speed paint of Canis holding his own head is older than the redesign I did, so it's not like the body type I really imagine him having now. But that's what I was going with at the time. It was just a pretty simple redesign at that point. So yeah. Anyways, that's really all I had for this video. So, do all the things. Like, subscribe, sell your soul to me so I can use it for my Gravity Falls OC redesign, which will be officially recognized by Alex Hirsch himself. And don't forget, turfs suck. Goodbye.